Welcome, everybody, to another financial aid information night. We're excited to join you today. My name is Derek Calvert. I work at the Office of Commissioner of Higher Education, and I work as the program manager for the Montana Educational Talent Search. And I work with the College Access team to help individuals like yourself, complete the FAFSA, as well as just other financial aid tools and things like that. I'm also joined by Jeannie Aribo. Jeannie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I am, as Derek said, Jeannie Aribo. I'm the Director of Montana Educational Talent Search at the Office of the Commissioner of Higher Ed. And like Derek, I am part of the College Access team. And I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you guys about student loans and how that connects with the FAFSA.
Yeah, and so we really do think that this is a very valuable and important topic to look at, because I think it can be a topic of concern for some people, not wanting to go into debt. But at the same time, we do look at federal student loans as being very valuable and necessary in order to, or sometimes necessary in order to, to reach our goals and educational goals. And so I guess without further ado, we'll jump right in. As I'm going to start sharing my screen here, and what you'll see is the Studentaid.gov website, and this is a website that you can go to and find all the tools that you need regarding the FAFSA, and then other financial aid tools that you might need. Really, as you can see. There's understanding aid, apply for aid, complete aid process, and managing your loans as well at this website. This is where you would go to complete the FAFSA, get your FSA ID, and things of that matter. For this purpose, we're just going to stick to understanding aid and looking at the types of financial aid that are out there, specifically loans. I wanted to do a quick overview of the different types of aid. Just so everybody can have some idea, even just the differences between them and loans. As you can see here, what we have here is there's grants. Grants are more so free money, essentially, that does not have to be repaid. And what's valuable about this website that I really appreciate is it does provide even more information beyond that. As this says, it doesn't have to be repaid unless, for example, you withdraw from school and owe a refund, or you receive a teach grant and don't complete your service obligation. So it provides kind of those stipulations, but for the most part, grants is money that you do not have to repay. Then there's scholarships. And notice too, you can click on this button and learn about grants if you want to learn some more about those. There's scholarships, and these are provided by nonprofits, private organizations, your colleges, careers, or for colleges and career schools, and you can get these through academic merit or if need-based scholarships as well. And scholarships are essentially just free money as well that you can use to pay for your educational expenses. You can learn about scholarships here. There's work study jobs that you can get, and that's, another type of aid that is offered once you complete the FAFSA. In order to get that aid, you have to work and earn that money in order to receive that work study aid. But like any job, you don't have to repay that. It's money that you earn and that you can use towards your schooling. But like I said, we do want to talk about loans today. So we're gonna jump right in here. Loans, is money that you borrow. It's not something that you're just given and you don't have to repay it back. You will have to pay it back eventually at some point. And it is money that will at some point accrue interest. and we'll look at the different loans and to give you a better idea as well of, okay, when does it accrue interest? When do I have to start paying it back? And things like that. So we can jump on in. Jeannie, am I missing anything as we move forward?
Nope, you're doing great.
Perfect. And please feel free to jump in at any time if if I miss anything or I missay something. Feel free to jump on in. So what I really like about this page is even with this title that you can see, it says federal student loans for college or career school are an investment in your future. And this is something that I mentioned earlier too, that uh, these these loans, they can be very necessary when it comes to pursuing your hopeful career, the career that you've been dreaming of having, so it can be, but it is an investment in your future. So it's something that you do have to consider, do I want to put this investment in, and if it's something that you really want to do, it can be incredibly valuable.
Yeah, just like with anything, we always stress to make sure you really look at your financial aid packet, see what you have for scholarships, see what you have for grant aid and work study options before you go to that loan option. And like it even says on the website, making sure that you understand what those options and responsibilities are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as we can continue to go through here, we'll get what I like about this website, it just really walks you through. So I really do encourage any of you, if you're watching right now or watching, our recording, posted, this will be posted on our YouTube page, our website. So if you're watching it there, follow along, go to this website, join us as we scroll through this and walk through it, or just, check it out later and really dive in and get all the info that you need and that you're looking for. So like we talked about before, a loan, it's money that you borrow, you have to pay back with interest. And there's different types of federal student loans that we want to talk about. And 4 of these loans right here. The first one being direct subsidized loans. And these are loans made eligible to undergraduate students demonstrating financial need. So your school will review your FAFSA, and see if this is something that you need. Are you demonstrating that financial need in order to qualify for this direct subsidized loan? And so something to emphasize too is this is not for graduate students. This is only for undergraduate students. And then what's cool about this website as well is you can jump in and see, you can go into a little bit more detail about the loans.
And a good distinction to make with the subsidized loans too, that the website gets into telling you about, is the nice thing about unsubsidized loans, if you're taking them out, although they're accruing interest, the Department of Ed pays that interest while you are in school. So that if you borrow $2,500 your freshman year, it's still going to be $2,500 when you graduate at the end of your 2-year degree or your 4-year degree. That there is no interest that gets tacked on that until after your grace period and you have left school.
Yeah, I mean, the subsidized loans are just really incredible when it comes to students who, need to pull out a loan, a federal student loan, are in that financial need and, can really benefit. There's just some huge benefits. It's incredible. Just as this says, the U.S. Department pays the interest on direct subsidized loans. when you're in school at least half time. So that's something to keep in mind too, as Jeannie was talking about. You pull out $2,500 your freshman year, that is not going to accrue on a subsidized loan at all. When you leave, it's going to be $2,500. However, though, if you drop below half time, meaning if you go below 6 credits, you won't be considered half time, and therefore the loans will then start to accrue after a grace period of 6 months. They'll start to accrue interest, and then you will have to pay that interest as well. And then, just as what I said, the grace period is 6 months after you leave school. You have to start paying on your loans, and the interest will start accruing. And then you don't have to pay as well during a period of deferment if the government is offering a deferment, or if you've worked out something with the loan provider to have a deferment as well. We can just really even just look at the direct unsubsidized loans as well here. Really, the big difference is just that the unsubsidized loans accrue interest throughout your schooling. They, don't have to. You don't have to make payments on them, but they do accrue interest throughout your entire schooling. And similar to subsidized loans, there is that grace period after you leave school of 6 months once you're done with school, or go below halftime in terms of paying the loan. And something to mention, a difference is that these are for undergraduate, but also graduate students who don't necessarily demonstrate financial need, but are in need of a federal loan to pay for school. So I guess with that, I wanted to go back to the other page, because there was another loan that I wanted to look at. And that is the Direct Plus loan. And so these are for graduate or professional students, and parents of dependents of undergraduate students. So, specifically, obviously the subsidized loans cannot be offered to graduate students, but graduate students could get the Direct Plus loan, as well as the parents can take out the loan in their name. It wouldn't be in the student's name. So the direct subsidized loan could be in the undergraduate student's name. However, the plus loan would be in the parent's name. So that's something to consider when you're looking at taking out a direct plus loan.
And another thing to really think about, we always encourage students to think about, if parents are considering a Parent Plus loan, is really to determine if it's needed to make that gap that might be there for your educational expenses that the rest of your student aid is not covering. Because as Derek said, this is debt that goes directly into that parent guardian's name. They are the guarantor of it. And unlike the federal subsidized and unsubsidized loans that students don't start paying on until they leave school, parents immediately start paying on these Parent Plus loans. So it's debt you're taking out on behalf of your students' education that is in your name. So we always try to make sure that there's that really clear distinction.
And that's really good to know, for as you're looking at taking out loans, to know all these differences, to know when do you have to pay, when is interest accruing, so that you're not taken surprise, when you, as a parent, if you're taking out a plus loan for your student, to be like, oh, I have to make a payment on this. I thought I didn't have to pay until they were out of school, so just being aware of that.
And unlike the other two types of loans mentioned before, these are credit check requirements. So you do have to have a certain credit score to be eligible to meet the additional requirements to get those loans. So that's always an important thing to know too. Whereas unsubsidized and subsidized loans for the students have no credit check. The direct plus loans do have a credit check associated with them.
Yes, exactly. And so there's just I think there is a little bit more to consider when it comes to the plus loan. Though I think all the loans, everyone should consider how much you need before taking it out. And then there's the direct consolidation loans, which allow you to combine all of your eligible federal student loans into a single loan with a single loan servicer. So this is when you have loans already, you are able to look into this direct consolidation loan and to combine them. So you're making just one payment compared to multiple loan payments. So how much can I borrow in federal student loans? Well, it kind of depends, whether you're undergraduate or graduate student. But generally, the maximum that you can borrow each year is between 5,500, 5,500, and 12,500 per year. And that really just kind of depends on what year in school you're in, and then your dependency status. Graduate students can definitely borrow more in the direct unsubsidized loan, but then they can also get the plus loan so that they can be used to cover the remainder of their college costs. And something to mention with all of this, though you can take out this amount of, though oftentimes you'll be offered a certain amount of money in this loan, you do not have to accept that full amount. And I think we might mention this down lower on this page. But you don't have to accept the full amount. You'll want to look at, okay, what do you need? What is your budget? How much in grants did I receive, in scholarships, in work study, and really look at all of that, what you have, and consider, okay, this is how much I need in loans. So you don't have to take out that full amount if you don't need to.
That's a really good point, Jarek. One thing that we always really encourage our students to think about is don't just think year to year, right? Okay, I need X amount to cover this year, because more than likely you'll need that similar amount to cover upcoming years. So whether you're in a 2-year program, 1-year program, 4-year, depending on what type of credentialing you're going for, think about what that overall loan amount is going to be, and really be a smart consumer with it, and making sure that you're taking out enough to cover your costs, but not getting yourself into a situation that when you graduate, you've accumulated more debt than your potential salary earnings are for those first few years after you graduate with your degree.
Yes, yeah, you definitely need to consider just everything. Think 4, 5, 6, 10 years in the future. 15 years. Okay, where are you going to be? What do you need? Try not to think about, okay, $5,000 right in front of me. Wow, that looks real good. I could use all of that right now. Well, and for one too, as we'll look at further, there's different stipulations on what you can use the money on. But as this says, you can borrow less than what you're offered. And something to note too is, if you need more, you can always request more loan funds later, as long as you're eligible for up to that certain amount of funds that you were offered. So you can take out the loan money that you need. Just make sure that you're only borrowing what you need.
Yeah. So I think a good example of what Derek was just talking about is, say initially when you sign your student aid report, instead of taking the full 5,500 out as a freshman, you decide, okay, I'm going to try and go with just 3,000, 1,500 a semester. And you get into it a month or two or getting to your second semester, you do have that option to work with your financial aid office to say, I've rethought about it and I do need to get more closer to the full 5,500. So that is one thing to think about too as you're looking at loans.
Yes, exactly. So why should you take out federal student loans? And I would say this, why take this out compared to private loans? For a couple reasons too. Private loans can often be, um, uh, much higher interest. There isn't that grace period. You have to start paying them right away throughout school. They start accruing interest right away. You have to get a credit check. Um, for the most part. And then, so there's definitely federal loans offer just an incredible benefit for students looking at paying for their education, looking at investing in their future, a lot more so than private loans. So we think that, these federal student loans are incredibly beneficial for looking at, you're paying for an education. As long as you're being smart about it and not over borrowing, really don't be afraid to take out those student loans. These can be a huge benefit. And just as this list goes through, I mean, there's lots of benefits. The interest rate is fixed. Usually lower than half or low. Am I reading that right? Usually lower than that on private loans. Okay. And much lower than that on a credit card. You don't need a credit check or a cosigner on most of the federal student loans. Just as we talked about, the PLUS loan would need a credit check. You don't have to begin repaying your federal students right away. You have a little bit of that grace period, and after you drop below halftime as well as graduating from college. If you demonstrate financial need, the government pays for the interest on that subsidized loan, while you're in school. I mean, that is incredible. Federal student loans offer flexible repayment plans and options to postpone your loan payments. So, once you're actually making payments on your federal student loans, there's lots of different options. There's income-based repayment plans that go off of, okay, how much are you making, after your grace period, how much are you making, and how much can you afford to pay on your loans? So it's very flexible and helpful, and really it's there's just these benefits, and they really want to work with you. And then, obviously with certain jobs, you're eligible for a portion of federal student loans being forgiven, being able to have that option if you're working in public service positions, along with some other career fields. So lots of benefits. Jeannie, any thoughts regarding those?
Just one, and that is just to really reiterate something you just slightly touched on when you were talking about private loans. There are other types of education loans out there. There's other types of loans available to finance your education outside the federal government. I always use myself as an example when I'm talking to students or other people about this. I was that student that did not know about financial aid. I went into my freshman year of college not knowing that there was this like wonderful world of FAFSA, right? So my family had to stress over, would we be able to qualify for a loan to cover just my first semester of college at the school that I was going to? And it had to be taken out in my parents' name. They had to start paying right away, even though it was a private education loan. So when I got into school and got to know our financial aid office, and don't let your financial aid office be a mystery to you, go and meet your financial aid advisors, get to know them, and really understand how they can help you with your schooling and finding that money. And I can tell you, it made all the difference to be able to apply for subsidized and unsubsidized student loans versus that one semester that I took out, that not even my parents had to take out a private loan for, and then had to work on paying back immediately at a much, much higher interest rate. So know that there are other options out there, but the whole reason there's these federal student loans is because they are some of the best options for students if you're talking loans.
Yeah, and I really do second that in terms of getting to know your financial aid offices, calling them with questions. They're more than happy. I've worked with multiple financial aid administrators, and being able to talk with them, and they have expressed that they're more than willing to work with people, giving them a call, sending them email, setting up one-on-one appointments to be able to talk with them, to work through your questions, to help you with, your FAFSA, it really just to help you, even when it comes to financial literacy and budgeting, there's, people at the schools in the financial aid offices wanting to help you with that. So really, get to know those people, and you will do well.
Yes, especially those of us that were first generation and or came from lower income backgrounds. It can feel like this huge mystery or intimidating, but everyone on that campus is there to support you and help you in your education. So take it coming from an introvert who had no idea what they were doing going on to campus, that self-advocacy piece is so crucial.
Yeah, no, it really is. And I know for myself, as we're looking at, what should I consider when taking out federal student loans? Something that I, probably really could have used was being able to reach out to the financial aid offices and get their help. Though I tried to be, as a responsible borrower, I tried to do my best and take out only the loans that I needed. I still know that I think I could have been a little bit more responsible. But being able to think back, being able to talk with people would have been so incredibly helpful for me. But really, kind of when it comes down to what we're looking at here, being a responsible borrower is the biggest thing. When it comes to taking out federal student loans, we want you to be responsible. We don't want, you going crazy with just accepting, just as I was saying, the max amount as much as you can, because that gets people in bad situations. You over borrow. Once you're done with school, it's gonna be a burden. But if you borrow what you need, as we can look at researching starting salaries in your field, as Jeannie mentioned earlier, knowing what kind of salaries are going to be that you're going to be looking at in your career field. It's not going to be as big of a burden, knowing that, okay, if I have to go to school for 8 years to be, to become a doctor, compared to 4 years to, for another career, but with vast different salaries, it's not going to, it's just, there's a lot to consider there. And it might not be a big of a burden if you have a certain amount of debt, but a salary that can easily support that. So keeping track of your borrowing, researching those starting salaries in your field, understanding the terms of your loan, keeping copies of your loan documents. That's how to be a responsible loan borrower, so that you know exactly what is expected of you. You know exactly how much you've borrowed. Keeping track of that, knowing what you're agreeing to on the Jeannie, you could correct me if I'm wrong. Promissory note.
Promissory note. Yep.
Perfect. So, knowing what you're agreeing to when you're signing that, so that you know, okay, what you have, when you have to repay, what you have to do, knowing that, just all of the stipulations that you're agreeing to. So that's part of being a responsible borrower. Uh, Once you're making payments, you're out of school or you're below halftime, you're making payments, making sure that it's on time. This is incredibly helpful, for you obviously, but for the servicer. But it's gonna support your credit even. If you're not able to make on time payments, that's going to affect your credit negatively. So looking towards your future, you want to do the best that you can. So make sure that you are able to make those payments on time. And if you're not, really, contacting those people, keeping in touch with your loan servicer, notifying them when you're not able to make those payments, or as this says, notifying them when you graduate school, when you withdraw from school, when you drop below that halftime status, when you transfer to another school, change your name, address, social security number, so they don't have to track you down somehow, or that they're not able to track you down. Just being in touch with them so that they have that information, and that if something does happen, you're not able to make those payments, you can let them know, and oftentimes they're able to work with you. So that all kind of, each of those things are a part of being a responsible borrower, when you're looking at taking out these federal student loans. Jeannie, any thoughts, any other thoughts regarding these?
No, like Derek said, we just always, right? Hindsight is always 2020, and we never want our students to get into a situation where they now have either stopped out and are paying on student loans without a credential, or they've graduated and their income starting off doesn't support the amount that they took out in student loans. So I know it's really hard, right? We're able to sit here, Derek and I talk about this, removed some time from our college experience and able to reflect. It's a lot harder, I know, when you're in the moment, but all I can say is these are words of wisdom, and that we are individuals that learn from some of this advice that we are offering to you.
Yes, and that's really, what we just continue to recommend is seek advice. Get you can research this website, but make sure to ask for, to get your questions answered. You have to ask the question. So you can comment questions, under the video here, so that we can, do our best to get your questions answered. Contact your financial aid offices to get your questions answered. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to be doing well if you are asking questions. So with that, that summarizes a lot of what that we wanted to talk about when it comes to federal student loans. In order to get these federal student loans, you do have to complete the FAFSA. You have to, in order to receive the funds, you have to go through entrance counseling, which continues to give you tools to help you be a responsible borrower, and then signing that master promissory note as well. So once you do all that, you're able to receive those federal student loans, and then you're good to go, and you can work with your financial aid offices to make sure that you're getting those. But yeah, like I said, make sure to ask questions. And with that, Jeannie, unless you have anything else to add, we will see you guys later.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and please ask those questions.
All righty. We'll see you guys later.